de soleil, pas 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 de soleil,
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 2026 Ordinary Council meeting. We acknowledge and pay our respects to the traditional custodians of this land, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and their elders past and present. I would like to advise everyone that the audio and video of this meeting is being live streamed to YouTube. I request everyone to please turn off your mobile phones. I remind you that audio recording of the meeting proceedings and photography within the chamber is prohibited unless prior approval has been granted, and councillors and city officers are reminded to disclose any declarations of financial interests and interests affecting impartiality, and are requested to activate their microphones when addressing the meeting. So, with that, we turn to item 1, which is the declaration of opening. I declare the meeting open at 1 minute past 6 p.m. Item 2 is a disclaimer. Members of the public are cautioned against taking any action as a result of a council decision until such time as they've seen a copy of the minutes or been advised in writing by the council's administration with regard to any particular decision. Item 3 is announcements from the presiding member, that's me. Councillor Jacqueline Raison has resigned from her position as Councillor of the City of South Perth. Councillor Raison made a genuine contribution to the council and to the city during her time in office. So, councillors, will you please join me in thanking Councillor Raison for her service and wishing her all the best for the future. I'd also like to take the opportunity to welcome Mill Point Ward Councillor Gavin Denton and Councillor Bronwyn David, elected to the office of Councillor, filled by election under Schedule 4.1 Capital A of the Local Government Act 1995. Welcome to you, Councillor David, and welcome to Councillor Denton as well. The mayoral report. In accordance with Council Resolution 226 of 32, a table of my formal engagements, meetings and events since the last council meeting is available in the agenda to the ordinary council meeting. That brings us to item 4, which is attendance. Item 4.1 is apologies. We have received an apology from Councillor Gavin Denton, and Councillor Denton has informed the city that he was unable to attend the July council agenda briefing and this week's ordinary council meeting due to pre-existing work commitments prior to his appointment to council. Councillor Denton has rearranged his calendar for the remainder of the year to accommodate his new duties as a Mill Point Ward councillor. Item 4.2 is approved leaves of absence, of which that's nil for this evening. Item 5 is declarations of interest. So we do have a few here, so bear with me. Mayor Greg Milner, that's me. I've declared a financial and proximity interest in item 10.3.1 as some of the proposed listings either include or are adjacent to or are across the road from properties that are owned or indirectly owned by persons who contributed to my mayoral re-election campaign in 2023. Councillor Stephen Russell has declared a financial proximity and impartiality interest in item 10.3.1 as my property is on the Heritage Survey. Adjacent properties to my property are on the Heritage Survey. I know of persons whose properties are on the Heritage Survey. Councillor Bronwyn David has declared an impartiality interest in item 10.3.1 as before joining council, I wrote heritage submissions and made deputations to council on heritage matters. Wesley College is a site being considered for inclusion on the Heritage Survey. My sons attended Wesley College and I served on the Wesley College Parents and Friends Association for a number of years. As a consequence, there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected. Nonetheless, I declare that I will consider this matter on its merits and vote accordingly. Councillor Kathy Lees has declared an impartiality interest in item 10.3.1 as prior to my election as a ratepayer, I requested that 49 Forest Street, South Perth, be considered for inclusion on the Local Heritage Survey. I also have friends who are members of the Royal Perth Golf Club, which is proposed for inclusion. On this basis, I'm declaring an impartiality interest, but confirm that I will consider the matter on its merits and vote accordingly. Councillor Andre Brenderer-Brandis has declared an impartiality interest in item 10.3.1, as I know of someone who is not a closely associated person to me, and their property is on the local heritage survey for final adoption. The impartiality interests will not impair my decision making, which will be based on merit. Councillor Kathy Lees has declared an impartiality interest in item 10.3.2, as I declare an impartiality interest in this item due to my association with the South Perth and WA tree canopy advocates as it relates to the future development of a large area of land with significant tree canopy cover. I will consider the matter on its merits and vote accordingly. Councillor Bronwyn David has declared an impartiality interest in item 10.3.2, as the item includes reference to trees on the relevant site. I am a co-founder of the South Perth Tree Canopy Advocates. As a consequence, there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected. Nevertheless, I declare that I will consider this matter on its merits and vote accordingly. Councillor Bronwyn David has declared an impartiality interest in item 10.3.3, as the application under review includes reference to trees on the relevant site. I am a co-founder of the South Perth Tree Canopy Advocates. As a consequence, there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected. Nonetheless, I declare that I will consider this matter on its merits and vote accordingly. Mayor Greg Milner, me again. I've declared a proximity interest in item 10.3.6 as a party who contributed to my mayoral re-election campaign in 2023, either owns or has an interest in 464 Canning Highway, which is opposite the subject site. Councillor Kathy Lees has declared an impartiality interest in item 10.3.6, as I know one of the people who has submitted an objection to this development application. As a result, I declare an impartiality interest, but confirm that I will consider the matter on its merits and vote accordingly. Councillor Kathy Lees has declared an impartiality interest in item 10.5.1, as this item includes a policy dealing with development applications for tree damaging activity. I declare an impartiality interest due to my association with the South Perth and WA Tree Canopy Advocates. I will consider the matter on its merits and vote accordingly. Mayor Greg Milner, I've declared a financial interest in item 10.5.2, as this item proposes revisions to policy P649, mayoral vehicle. And Mayor Greg Milner, I've declared an impartiality interest in item 12.1, as I received contact from and subsequently spoke with a minister of a local Christian church about this item. Councillors, does anyone else have any declarations they'd like to make this evening? Going, gone. Okay. In that case, we move on to item 6, which is public question time. Item 6.1 is responses to previous questions taken on notice. That's nil for this evening. And item 6.2 is public question time itself. So before I open public question time, as usual, I'd like to remind everyone that this section is for questions only, and preamble is to be kept to a minimum, please. And I do also ask that you refrain from using any language that could be considered offensive, objectionable or defamatory. So with that, I now open public question time at 8 minutes past 6 p.m. We've received 3 written submissions prior to tonight's meeting, and I'd like to begin by inviting Dr. Mark Brogan of Kensington to the microphone. Welcome to you, and the microphone is yours, and we look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, councillors and members of the city staff. Last week I gave a deputation in relation to the Heritage List and Survey. That's item 10.31 on tonight's agenda. And I'll also be asking a couple of questions today about 10.3.2, Bentley Technology Precinct Structure Plan. Last week I urged the Council to adopt the Heritage Survey, shown as Attachment A. In the agenda today, this aspiration is captured as Officer Recommendation at Agenda Item 10.3.1. In respect of Officer Recommendation 2, I urge Council to reject this recommendation last week in favour of a policy and recommendation that would allow more regular updates to the heritage list and the heritage survey. In the discussion that followed, it was plain that this is not intended by the City and that the matter might not be revisited in any substantive way for some time to come. I note in this context, City of Fremantle has an annual review process that can include adding new places and updating recorded heritage significance, as well as making minor administrative corrections. So that's an annual review process. My question is, why is it not feasible for the City of South Perth to adopt a policy and process of review that aligns with the City of Fremantle's approach? With only 50 places on the heritage list, the idea that the heritage list will be sidelined for years is deeply problematic.
Thank you for the question. Mr Versatio, can I send that your way?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The City has undertaken a review of the Local Heritage Survey in accordance with the guidelines for local heritage surveys published by the Heritage Council. These guidelines outline appropriate timeframes for a substantive or general review of a local government's local heritage survey, and therefore no additional policy is required. General reviews are recommended to take place at intervals consistent with the major review of a local planning strategy or strategic community plan. Notwithstanding the timeline for a general review, place-specific reviews for individual places can be conducted outside of the general review cycle.
Thank you. My remaining questions relate to the Technology Park Precinct Structure Plan, which is item 10.3.2 this evening. From today's agenda documents, it's plain that the black cockatoo habitat was raised as an issue in community submissions. However, in the City's response to the plan, found in the papers as attachment B, that is the schedule of modifications, there is no reference to black cockatoos, which are endangered as a consequence of habitat loss. Why does the City's response to the PSP omit reference to the black cockatoo and the need for action to protect this element of our biodiversity?
Thank you for the question. Mr Versatio.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The City's schedule of modifications outlines that Part 2 of the draft precinct structure plan should be modified to include comments and recommendations from the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water related to black cockatoos. This recommendation has been made as it is noted that the built form provisions proposed in the draft precinct structure plan may enable clearing of more than 1 hectare of high quality foraging habitat, which would trigger the need for a referral in line with the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1999.
I have a further follow-up question, Mr Mayor. In respect of black cockatoos, does the City agree that stronger representation may be required since the proponents of the plan, attachment C, admit in respect of consideration C11.4 that survey work done did not encompass the whole of the area of the PSP?
Thank you for the question. Mr Versatio.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, the City has noted that the environmental assessment report did not survey the entire PSP area. In response, the City has included as a recommended modification that the draft precinct structure plan is referred to the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water for comment and assessment.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions. I'd now like to invite Mr John Bassett of Como. Welcome to the meeting, welcome to the microphone. We look forward to your questions.
Good evening. My questions relate very closely to Dr Brogan's first question in relation to item 10.3.1, the Local Heritage Survey. I note on the agenda it says final, but I've learned not to hold my breath. The WA Heritage Council's guidelines for local heritage surveys suggest that reviews of council local heritage survey be undertaken in the urban context every 5 to 8 years. That's referred to in section 2.4.2 of the guideline. The Heritage Council suggests the review cycle should reflect the rate of change of structures in the local government area. The apparent high rate of demolitions in the South Perth region suggests that a 5-year review cycle would be appropriate. Considering that the current survey has already taken 2 years or more by now, it would seem that we are about halfway through the review cycle already. It further states that the Local Heritage Survey should identify a target for completion of the next review within the current survey. That's in section 2.4.3. So my first question is, has Council established a date for the next review of the Local Heritage Survey?
Thank you very much for the question. And Mr. Vaseko, I think I mispronounced your name before. I do apologise. Can I send that question your way?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City has not established a date for the review of the Local Heritage Survey. The guidelines for local heritage surveys recommend that a general review take place at intervals consistent with the major review of a local planning strategy or strategic community plan. The City's local planning strategy is due for major review in 2029. Following the review of the City's local planning strategy, it is likely that the City will commence a general review of the LHS, informed by any changes to the local planning strategy. This timeframe is consistent with the 5 to 8 year review period outlined in the guidelines. Notwithstanding this, the City can undertake place-specific reviews where required ahead of the next general review.
Thank you. Next question, please,
So
Mr.
my
Bassett.
follow-up question is perhaps a little irrelevant now, but will Council document a target date for the next Local Heritage Survey review within the current survey as recommended by the Heritage Council?
Thank you for the question. Mr. Vaseko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City has not provided a target date for the review of the Local Heritage Survey within the document. The Heritage Act 2018 states that local government must have regard to any guidelines published by the Heritage Council of WA. The City considers that it is most appropriate to align the next review of the Local Heritage Survey with the completion of the major review of the local planning strategy, as also outlined in the guidelines.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vaseko, and thank you, Mr. Bassett, for the questions. I'd now like to invite Mr. Jeff Dufresne of Kensington. Welcome to you. The microphone is yours, and we look forward to your questions.
Good evening, all. There's now some years since I've asked questions here, and it's basically all new faces around the place. For those who that don't know, I've asked hundreds of questions at this council meeting for over about a 20-year period, and much to the regret, I think, of many councillors. On the budget, I note that the employee costs have risen 8.9%. I don't know whether this is additional staff or additional benefits. The 2006 year is a revaluation year for the gross rental value of which most council rates are calculated. Media reports say the rate increase will be about 6.3%, which is also in the budget, with an additional just over $3 million collected in rates. This is much higher than inflation. I've checked the GRV of my property and another in Gladstone Street, Avenue in South Perth. The increase was 52.2% and 51.6% respectively. I assume similar increases will be across the city. And based on these increases, I would anticipate my rate component of the rates will increase by 28%. Question. In preparing the 26-27 budget, what was the council's estimate of the increase in the GRV across the city? Because I note in the budget actually said based on current values.
Thank you for the question. Ms. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the question. The GRV is determined by the Valuer General for all rateable and leviable properties in Western Australia. Landgate provides these figures to rating authorities who use it to work out the rates, service charges and levies that property owners must pay. Under Landgate's 3-year revaluation cycle, property GRVs have been updated, resulting in an average increase of 36%.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Yes, second question, Mr. Dufresne.
Since the GRV is effective on the 1st of July 26, which is in the 26-27 budgets, will be calculated, what is the estimate gross rates to be collected?
Thank you for the question. Ms. Shaw.
Thank you. The adopted budget includes $50,847,638 in rates revenue to be collected, including an estimated $200,000 from interim rates. This represents a 5.95% increase in rates revenue.
I know what the budget said, but what will the gross rental value increase?
Mr. Dufresne, I can't Ms Shaw, did you want to clarify that? But I
just
can't have a
wanted-
back and forth between people in
I
public
would-
question
But I
time.
want a clear answer to my question, which
Yes,
hasn't
you're-
been answered.
No, you have, but Ms Shaw, did you?
Thank you. We can take the question on notice.
All right.
Thank you.
Your final question, Mr Dufresne?
If the estimated rates collection would be more than 10% than the 25-26 rates collected or charged, will the council revise the budget and adjust the rate in the dollar so the rates collected will not exceed more than 10% of those in 25-26?
Thank you for the question. Ms Shaw.
Thank you. The adopted budget is based on a 5.95% increase in rates revenue. However, the impact on individual properties will vary due to the updated GRVs provided by Landgate under its 3-year revaluation cycle, which resulted in average property values increasing by 36%. As a result, some properties may experience rate increases above or below 5.95, depending on the extent of the change in their GRV. The total rates collected will not exceed a 10% increase, as the rates levied have been calculated to achieve a 5.95% increase in rates revenue.
Thank you, Ms Shaw, and thank you, Mr Dufresne, for your questions. Okay, I'll just check with governance to see if there's any late questions in the tray. No, there's not. Okay. In that case, I now close public question time at 21 minutes past 6 p.m. That brings us to item 7, which is confirmation of minutes and notes. Item 7.1 is minutes. Item 7.1.1 is the ordinary council meeting held on 21 July 2026. That's now got to be, wouldn't that be a reference to the ordinary council meeting held on the 30th of June? Yep, okay, so scratch that. 7.1.1 is the ordinary council meeting held on the 30th of June 2026. So I'm about to look for a mover and a seconder that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 30th of June 2026 be taken as read and confirmed as a true and correct record. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Brenda Abrandis, thank you. Someone to second? Councillor Russell, thank you. Does anyone oppose? No. Okay. In that case, I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you all. Item 7.2 is notes of briefing, and I'll call for someone to move that council notes that the following council briefings and workshops were held. Those are 7.2.1, concept briefings and workshops, and 7.2.2, council agenda briefing held on 21 July 2026. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor David, thank you. Someone to second. Councillor Lees, thank you. Councillors, does anyone oppose? Councillor Russell.
I did attend the psychosocial hazard risk assessment on the 29th of June.
I think that might be covered in the 7.2.1, but I'll just seek clarification. So just to clarify, Councillor Russell, are you saying that because there was that separate briefing, that should be itemised individually? Have I understood you correctly, or?
No, so we're looking at 7.2.1, are we not?
On the run sheet we are, but hold on.
7.2.2. And so if you look at the...
Oh, I see. I do apologise. It's because you haven't, in the agenda papers, your name should be there as having attended on the 29th of June. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep. We can fix that up, I'm sure. Yep. We will fix it up. So looking for a mover and a seconder subject to that amendment, and good pick up, Councillor Russell. Thank you, Councillor David. Someone to second. Councillor Lees, thank you. Councillors, does anyone oppose? No. Okay, then we'll have that carried unanimously, subject to that amendment that Councillor Russell has correctly picked up. All right, we move on to item 8, which is presentations. Item 8.1 is petitions, that's nil. Item 8.2 is gifts or awards presented to council, that's nil. Item 8.3 is deputations, and deputations were heard at the council agenda briefing held on the 21st of July 2026. That brings us to item 9, which is method of dealing with agenda business. And I wish to advise that the following agenda items were not presented to the Council agenda briefing held on 21 July 2026. Those items are item 15.1.1, Councillor Code of Conduct, Matter 1. Item 15.1.2, Councillor Code of Conduct, Matter 2. Item 15.1.3, Councillor Code of Conduct, Matter 3. Item 15.1.4, Councillor Code of Conduct, Matter 4. Item 15.1.5, Councillor Code of Conduct, Matter 5. And item 15.1.6, Councillor Code of Conduct, Matter 6. I'll now seek confirmation from the Acting Chief Executive Officer, Ms Anita Amprimo, that all the report items contained in tonight's agenda were discussed at the July Council agenda briefing, with the exception of items 15.1.1 to 15.1.6 inclusive. Ms Amprimo.
Yeah, I can confirm that's correct. And I would also like to say that as there are only 6 elected members present in the chambers this evening, and that the Mayor and Councillor Russell have disclosed a financial and proximity interest in item 10.3.1 Local Heritage Survey final adoption, requiring the Mayor and Councillor Russell to leave the meeting for that item, a quorum will not be retained. I've therefore made the decision to withdraw item 10.3.1 Local Heritage Survey final adoption from the ordinary council meeting agenda, and will be brought back to council at a future meeting.
Thank you, Ms Amprimo. I'd also like to confirm that item 10.3.2, entitled South Perth Mill Point Road Traffic Safety Review, had been withdrawn from the July ordinary council agenda meeting to enable an elected member workshop, bearing in mind that we have a new 10.3.2, of course, but the previous one had been withdrawn. And also item 10.3.6, proposed change of use from cafe restaurant to fast food outlet and signage, illuminated and non-illuminated, lot 21, number 459 to 463, Canning Highway, Como, has been withdrawn from this ordinary council meeting agenda, and it will be brought back to council at a future meeting to allow the city to provide further advice to council. So, with the exception of those items to be withdrawn for discussion this evening, reports will be adopted by exception resolution, and by this I mean the officer recommendation will be adopted as is, without discussion or amendment. The following items have been withdrawn for discussion this evening. Those are item 10.3.2, Bentley Technology Park Precinct Structure Plan. And the reason for that is Councillor Stephen Russell has an alternative motion and Councillor Kathy Lees has an amendment. Item 10.4.3, that's Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. The reason for that is an absolute majority is required and elected member appointments are required. Item 10.4.4, entitled Western Australian Local Government Association South East Metropolitan Zone. The reason for that is elected member appointments are required. Item 10.4.5, entitled City of South Perth Community Safety and Crime Prevention Advisory Group. The reason for that is elected member appointments are required. Item 10.4.6, Local Emergency Management Committee for Canning and South Perth. The reason for that is elected member appointment is required. Item 10.4.7, City of South Perth Arts Advisory Group. And the reason is elected member appointments are required. Item 10.4.8, entitled City of South Perth Inclusive Community Advisory Group. The reason is elected member appointments are required. Item 10.4.9, entitled Metro Inner Development Assessment Panel. The reason is elected member appointments are required. Item 10.4.10, entitled Urban Greening Advisory Group. The reason is elected member appointments are required. Item 10.4.11, City of South Perth Public Health Advisory Group. The reason is elected member appointments are required. Item 10.5.1, Policy Review. The reason is, just for something different, absolute majority is required for Policy P639. Item 10.5.2, Policy P649, Mayoral Vehicle. And the reason for that is, Mayor Greg Milner, I've got a financial interest and Councillor Stephen Russell and Councillor Kathy Lees has amendment motions. Councillors, does anyone wish to withdraw any other items for discussion this evening? Going, gone. Okay. In that case, I'll now call for a mover and a seconder to carry the following items by exception resolution. Those are item 10.3.3, proposed amendment to childcare premises, lot 21 and lot 22, number 15 and number 17 Bowman Street, South Perth. Item 10.3.4, proposed change of use to unhosted short-term rental accommodation, lot 47, number 11 Scenic Crescent, South Perth, section 31 reconsideration. Item 10.3.5, proposed change of use, multiple dwellings to unhosted short-term rental accommodation, lot 38, number 308/29 Melville Parade, South Perth. Item 10.3.7, proposed alterations to residential aged care facility, lot 3650, number 10 Roebuck Drive, Salter Point. Item 10.4.1, listing of payments, June 2026. Item 10.4.2, monthly financial statements, June 2026, interim. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Lees, thank you. Someone to second? Councillor Russell, thank you. Councillors, does anyone oppose any of those items that I just read? No. Okay. In that case, those items have just been passed by exception resolution in accordance with clause 5.5 of the City of South Perth Standing Orders Local Law 2007, and the officers' recommendations have been accepted by Council. So we now be moving on to those reports identified to be withdrawn for discussion this evening, the first of which is item 10.3.2, Bentley Technology Park Precinct Structure Plan. Councillor Russell, we've received an alternative motion from you. Would you like to lead by moving that motion?
I do, thank you, yes.
All right. Perhaps since I think we're about to have it on the screens, what I might get you to do is, I know there's amendment that you've submitted to that. Do you want to just read the amendment so that everyone's across that? But otherwise it should be as per the hard copies and what is now on the screen. Quite right. Well, actually, you need to move it by reading the amendment first. So, yes, you almost got me. But
Okay, so what's been changed really is point 2. So, recommending that the West Australian Planning Commission refuse the draft Bentley Technology Park Precinct Structure Plan, the draft PSP, for the following reasons. 1, the road network proposed as part of the draft PSP includes an additional intersection on Kent Street, which is designated as an other regional road. The implications associated with the introduction of a new intersection to a road that carries significant traffic has not been comprehensively addressed in the draft PSP or the transport impact assessment included as Appendix E to the draft PSP. 2, the true impact of traffic on the road network to provide for appropriate local and regional transport network outcomes has not been demonstrated. The transport impact assessment included as Appendix E to the draft PSP does not address the probability of the local road network via Felmer Street being used as alternative rat runs due to the degradation level of service D of Hayman Road for the AM moderate development scenario. 3, the draft PSP has provided new lot designs in sub-precinct 2, which will result in extensive removal of the existing pine tree network and associated green links. 4, the proposed location of public open space within sub-precinct 2 has not been prioritised for the retention of the existing mature pine trees, with areas with the highest volume of pine trees designated as potential lots for future development. 5, the provision in the draft PSP related to tree retention on site are insufficient and do not prioritise the retention of the existing mature tree canopy. These provisions contradict the objectives contained within the draft PSP to reinforce the precinct's identity as a green campus-style environment. 6, Potential roosting, breeding and foraging habitat may be present within the unsurveyed areas of the site. The draft PSP has failed to provide a targeted black cockatoo habitat assessment required to confirm the potential foraging and breeding habitat present within the site. 7, no referral has been undertaken under the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1999, and as such, the draft PSP has not been designed to accommodate any potential controlled action required by the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water. Details provided in the draft PSP to minimise manage impacts on the foraging habitats of carnabes, black cockatoos, as referenced in Appendix B of the draft PSP may be required. 8, the draft PSP proposes significant public infrastructure upgrades, including across fragmented land parcels, however fails to provide a mechanism outlining how these upgrades are to be designed, funded, constructed and implemented. 9, the fragmented nature of the land combined with the absence of a statutory mechanism for legally binding framework to secure the delivery of essential infrastructure results in unacceptable uncertainty regarding infrastructure provision. The draft PSP does not provide sufficient certainty that the necessary infrastructure upgrades will be delivered, nor is there any alternative statutory mechanism requiring those upgrades to occur. As such, the proposal risks resulting in a poor built form outcome for landowners, tenants and visitors to the Bentley Technology Park area in the future. 10, whilst recognition of cultural heritage of the site has been referenced to the draft PSP, there is insufficient information as to how this will be incorporated into the built form and public realm. 11, application of the precautionary principle in refusing the application is warranted, given that adequate and accurate information to demonstrate that implementation of the draft PSP will pose serious or irreversible damage to the local environment. And finally, 12, as with other specific land uses, data centres, due to their unique requirements and amenity impacts, are deserving of their own land use category rather than covered under the category warehouse storage. The allowing of data centres under warehouse storage land use, which is preferred land use under the PSP, is inappropriate, indeed misleading for planning, public consultation and assessment reasons. Without its own land use category, the PSP does not give due consideration of data centres adjacent to current and future residential zones or other PSP stakeholders.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillors, would anyone like to second Councillor Russell's? Councillor Brenda Brandis, thank you. Councillor Russell, the floor is yours for your reasons.
I think I've exhausted those reasons.
All right. Councillor Brenda Brandis, anything to say as seconder?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Russell has covered it thoroughly.
All right, thank you. Councillor Lees, I know that you've got an amendment to the alternative motion. Would you like to move that now?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
All right. I might get you to... It's up to you as to whether you want to read the whole thing or whether you just want to read the section that's the amendment at paragraph 3. Probably the latter's probably... Yes, okay.
Thank you.
If you could, please.
So the section 3 says requests the Chief Executive Officer to provide this resolution inclusive of reasons and report the draft Bentley Technology Park Structure Plan, the schedule of submissions including officer comments, the city's assessment and the City of South Perth schedule of modifications attached in attachment B. And this is where the amendment comes in with the following additions and amendments to the West Australian Planning Commission for determination. So proposed modifications to Part 1 of the draft PSP that provide clearer direction to prioritise the protection of existing trees and deep soil areas and the landscape character of the precinct within the draft PSP, including a strengthening wording with this section 3.4 subdivision requirements to require provision for mature trees, tree retention as a condition of subdivision approval, revised and additional landscaped areas that reflect and protect existing tree canopy in section 3.6 primary development controls with corresponding provisions included in section 3.7 general development requirements to limit development within these areas in order to maximise retention of mature healthy trees, deep soil zones and the established character of the precinct. C, maximum site coverage provisions that ensure built form in section 3.6, primary development controls with corresponding provisions included in section 3.7 general development requirements in order to ensure building footprints are limited to maximise retention of mature healthy trees and maintain the established character of the area with buildings set amongst trees and landscaping. And D, the creation of new subsection within section 3.7 general development requirements titled tree retention, which contain the general requirement matters such as those outlined in the City of South Perth Local Planning Policy 3.2 tree retention. And then 2, proposed modifications to Part 1, Section 3.7 General Development Requirements of the draft PSP that introduce additional general development requirements to require enhanced levels of ecologically sustainable design outcomes, water-sensitive urban design and active transport infrastructure, including end-of-trip facilities.
Thank you, Councillor Lees. Councillors, would anyone like to second the amendment? Councillor Brenda Abrandis. Thank you. Councillor Lees, the floor is yours for your reasons.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, firstly, I wish to make it clear that I support Councillor Russell's alternative motion for refusal. I have proposed these additional amendments because I believe they strengthen his recommendation by providing further clarity and guidance beyond the modifications already recommended by the City. While the motion recommends refusal of the current draft precinct structure plan, it is also important that we clearly articulate the type of planning framework Council would expect to see should a revised proposal be brought forward in the future. The amendments I am proposing do not change the recommendation for refusal, rather they seek to strengthen the schedule of modifications so that all identified concerns are clearly documented and conveyed to the WAPC for its consideration. In doing so, they provide clearer guidance on the environmental, biodiversity, landscape and sustainability outcomes that Council and the community would expect to be addressed in any future proposal for the precinct. These additions build on the City's recommendation and respond directly to issues consistently raised by the community, particularly in addition, well not particularly, but in addition noting the number of amount of contact we've had over the last few days. They help establish a clearer vision for a structure plan that appropriately balances future development and employment opportunities with the protection of the environment and landscape values that make this precinct unique. One of the strongest themes to emerge through community consultation and over the last few days is concern about the loss of mature trees and the resulting impacts on biodiversity, particularly habitat and food sources for the endangered Carnaby's cockatoos, as well as impacts on local amenity and the distinctive landscape character of the precinct. The proposed modifications respond directly to those concerns by strengthening requirements for mature tree retention at subdivision stage, improving protection of existing canopy cover and deep soil areas, limiting site cover to minimise unnecessary vegetation loss and maintain the character of the area, and introducing a dedicated tree retention section within the precinct structure plan framework. Limiting building footprints, protecting key landscaped areas and strengthening tree retention requirements would maximise opportunities to retain mature trees and canopy cover while maintaining the established character of the area. I believe these measures are consistent with community feedback and align with the key priorities of our urban greening strategy. The additional modifications relating to ecologically sustainable design, water-sensitive design and active transport infrastructure are also worthy of support. They are essential components of contemporary precincts, contributing to environmental performance, climate resilience, reduced resource consumption and healthier workplace environments. Strengthening these requirements would improve the quality and sustainability of any future planning framework for the site. For me, these additions complement and strengthen the refusal recommendation. They provide a clearer record of community expectations and a stronger indication of the measures needed to better balance economic development with environmental protection, biodiversity conservation and landscape character. Supporting these amendments does not weaken the refusal motion, rather it ensures council concerns and those of our community are comprehensively documented and conveyed to the WA Planning Commission. For these reasons, I ask councillors to support these additional modifications to Councillor Russell's alternative motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lees. Councillor Brenda Brandis, you're the seconder. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I support Councillor Lee's amendments to the alternative motion. This is highly aligned to community expectations and has a strong focus on tree preservation and also alignment to our policy 3.2. I support this and encourage fellow councillors to also support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brenda Brandis. So, councillors, we're currently debating Councillor Lees's amendment to Councillor Russell's alternative motion. Does anyone wish to speak against Councillor Lee's amendment, I should say? Councillor Russell.
Not speaking against, it's just a question.
Sure.
So with reference to Roman numeral 1D, which is a local planning policy, now I know that if a DA comes before council or DAP, the city is the assessor, and therefore they will consider a local planning policy. If a DA goes before the SDU, how are local planning policies assessed?
Who should I send that to? Mr Vaseko?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Any development application that is presented before the SDAU will have due regard to the local planning framework.
Okay, so can I just assume then that point D is kind of superfluous?
Mr Vaseko?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I might refer that matter to the Acting Director of Corporate Services for further detail.
Ms Shaw?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So you're suggesting that with the inclusion of D, with the creation of a new subsection, it would be captured anyway, is that correct? Yeah. So the intent of including it into the precinct structure plan would be useful in the sense that it highlights to prospective applicants that there is an obligation to at least have regard to the local planning policy in that respect. Mm-hmm. And then when the city undertook an assessment, it would then reiterate that point. So for example, if an applicant proposed an application that proposed removal of a regulated tree, reasons for refusal could be based on the requirement within the precinct structure plan and via the local planning policy.
Thank you, Ms Shaw.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak against Councillor Lees's amendment to Councillor Russell's alternative motion? No? Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favour? Councillor D'Souza.
Just a question, Mr Mayor.
By all means.
So with regards to clause 3 and the implications of refusal, so regardless of acceptance or refusal, we're providing the schedule of submissions to the Planning Commission. If those submissions are accompanied by a refusal as opposed to an acceptance, would that in any way affect the weighting the WAPC provide to those submissions?
Thank you for the question. Ms Vaseko?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Any of the recommendations, regardless of the city's decision to refuse or endorse approval, would still be considered the same by the WAPC.
Thank you. Councillors, Councillor D'Souza.
And just in terms of the data centre clause, fully supportive, just a question, would that also be well placed in our actual scheme as well, or just part of this?
Mr Vaseko?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Data centres are an emerging trend, and without any broader guidance on it, there is merit in a future scheme amendment to consider, but we would also seek guidance from the state government around manner and form, so there is consistency across local planning schemes.
Thank you. Any further questions, Councillor D'Souza?
That's all, thanks, Mr Mayor.
All right. Councillors, is there anyone who would like to speak for or against Councillor Lee's amendment to Councillor Russell's alternative motion? No? Councillor Lees, there hasn't been any debate against your amendment, so no need for you to do any winding up. I'll simply put, the voting buttons aren't working at the moment, so we're going to have to do this by way of a show of hands. So all those who are in favour, I'll go back a couple of steps. We're about to vote on Councillor Lee's amendment to Councillor Russell's alternative motion. So all those in favour of Councillor Lee's amendment, please raise your hands. That was unanimous. Okay. So Councillor Lee's amendment has been carried. So that's been incorporated into Councillor Russell's alternative motion. We now return to Councillor Russell's alternative motion as amended, and the debate on that alternative motion now continues. Is there anyone who would like to speak against Councillor Russell's alternative motion as just amended? No? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favour? No, it's easy. Okay. Councillor Russell, there's been no debate against your alternative motion aside from the amendment. So I'm simply going to put the amended alternative motion to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour, please raise your hands. And that was unanimous. Okay, thank you all. All right, that takes us to item 10.4.3, entitled Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. So I'm just going to fast forward in my notes here. Here we go. So we've got an officer recommendation before us. It's basically seeing who else wants to join the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. I have received a nomination from Councillor David, so thank you. What I'll do is I'll seek if anyone else wants to nominate from the floor, or anyone who's not already a member of the committee who would like to join, they're welcome to do so. Well, I'll do that now. Is there anyone else who would like to nominate from the floor to join the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee? That's a no? Okay. In that case, I'll simply move the motion in terms of the officer recommendation, which is that Council, in accordance with Section 7.1 capital A of the Local Government Act 1995, appoints the following elected members to the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee for the period 28 July 2026 to 16 October 2027. And then in A, Councillor Bronwyn David. Councillors, can I have a seconder for that motion, please? Councillor Brenda Abrandis, thank you. Councillors, does anyone oppose? No. In that case, that's carried unanimously. Welcome to the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee, Councillor David. We now move on to item 10.4.4, which is entitled Western Australian Local Government Associations, South East Metropolitan Zone. Once again, we've got an officer recommendation before us. I have received a nomination from Councillor Gavin Denton to join as the new delegate that we need. Is there anyone that would like to volunteer from the floor to serve as the other deputy delegate that we need? Gone? Okay. In that case, I'll simply move part of the officer recommendation. I'll move a motion that reflects paragraph 1. So the motion will be as follows: that Council appoints the following member as a delegate to the Western Australian Local Government Association, South East Metropolitan Zone, for the period 28 July 2026 to 16 October 2027. And then where you can see A, Councillor Gavin Denton is inserted there. Could I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Brenda Abrandis, thank you. Councillors, does anyone oppose? No? In that case, that's carried unanimously, and I welcome Councillor Gavin Denton to the Wowga South East Metropolitan Zone. We move on to item 10.4.5, which is the City of South Perth Community Safety and Crime Prevention Advisory Group. I have received a nomination from Councillor Bronwyn David. Councillors, is there anyone else who isn't presently on the City of South Perth Community Safety and Crime Prevention Advisory Group, but who nonetheless would like to join? Gone? Okay. In that case, I'll move a motion in line with the officer recommendation as follows: that Council appoints the following elected member to the City of South Perth Community Safety and Crime Prevention Advisory Group. And at number 1, we insert the name Councillor Bronwyn David. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Brenda Abrandis, thank you. Councillors, does anyone oppose? No? In that case, I call that carried unanimously. Welcome to the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Advisory Group. Councillor David. All right, we've now got item 10.4.6, which is the Local Emergency Management Committee for Canning South Perth. Once again, we've got an officer recommendation before us. We're looking for a deputy delegate. I'm serving as the primary delegate, but is there anyone who would like to volunteer from the floor to be the deputy delegate? Now, the good news is you only have to attend if I can't make it. Anyone? Going... Oh, Councillor Lees, thank you. So I've got Councillor Lees has nominated, so I'll move a motion in terms of the officer recommendation as follows, that in accordance with the provisions of the Emergency Management Act 2005, Section 38, Council appoints Councillor Kathy Lees as the City's Deputy Delegate to the Local Emergency Management Committee for Canning/South Perth for the period 28 July 2026 to 16 October 2027. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor David. Councillors, does anyone oppose? No? Then that's carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Lees, and welcome to the Local Emergency Management Committee. We now move on to item 10.4.7, which is the City of South Perth Arts Advisory Group. I have received nomination from Councillor Bronwyn David as an additional delegate there. Councillors, is there anyone else who would like to join and is not presently a member? Nope, okay. In that case, I'll move a motion in line with the officer recommendation as follows, that Council appoints the following elected member to the City of South Perth Arts Advisory Group for the period of 28 July 2026 to 16 October 2027. Councillor Bronwyn David. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Brenda Abrandis, thank you. Councillors, does anyone oppose? No? Then that's carried unanimously. Congratulations, Councillor David. Welcome to the Arts Advisory Group. We now move on to item 10.4.8, which is the City of South Perth Inclusive Advisory Group. I have received the nomination from Councillor Gavin Denton. We need one. We can have more than one if more people would like to join. Would anyone else like to put their hand up? No? In that case, I'll move a motion in line with the officer recommendation as follows, that Council appoints Councillor Gavin Denton to the Inclusive Community Advisory Group for the period 28 July 2026 to 16 October 2027. Could I have a thank you, Councillor Brenda Abrandis. Councillors, does anyone oppose? No. Then I declare that carried unanimously, and thank you to Councillor Denton, and I welcome him to the Inclusive Community Advisory Group. We now move on to the item 10.4.9, entitled Metro Inner Development Assessment Panel. We have had a nomination from Councillor Gavin Denton to be a primary member, and we've also had a nomination from Councillor Bronwyn David to be an alternate member. There is room for one more alternate member if anyone wants to volunteer from the floor. Gone? Okay. In that case, I'll move a motion in line with the officer recommendation as follows. Paragraph 1, that Council nominates Councillor Gavin Denton as a member of the Metro Inner Development Assessment Panel for the period 28 July 2026 to 26 January 2028. Paragraph 2, that Council nominates Councillor Bronwyn David as an alternate member of the Metro Inner Development Assessment Panel for the period 28 July 2026 to 26 January 2028. And paragraph 3, that the Minister for Planning and Lands be advised of the nomination of the City of South Perth's Development Assessment Panel member and alternate members for the period 28 July 2026 to 26 January 2028. Could I have a... I'm going to give it to Councillor Lees this time, just to spread it around, but thank you for the enthusiasm. Councillors, does anyone oppose? No. Okay. In that case, that's carried unanimously, and thank you to Councillor Gavin Denton and thank you to Councillor Bronwyn David. We now move to item 10.4.10, entitled Urban Greening Advisory Group. I have received a nomination from Councillor Bronwyn David. Is there anyone else who is not presently a member of the Urban Greening Advisory Group who would like to join at this juncture? No? In that case, I'll move a motion in line with the officer recommendation as follows, that Council appoints Councillor Bronwyn David to the Urban Greening Advisory Group for the period 28 July 2026 to 16 October 2027. Could I have a seconder, please? I think Councillor Lees beat you by a split second there. Thank you, Councillor Lees. Does anyone oppose? No. In that case, I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor David, and welcome to the Urban Greening Advisory Group. We now turn to item 10.4.11, which is the City of South Perth Public Health Advisory Group. We do have Councillor Lees as our current member, but we can appoint more people if more people would like to join. I don't have any nominations at this stage. Is there anyone that would like to put up their hand from the floor? Gone. In that case, I think that one simply lapses because I can't move a motion that we appoint no one, so I think that just goes through to the keeper. But that's okay because we've got Councillor Lees there. All right, we now move to item 10.5.1, which is entitled Policy Review. We've got an officer recommendation before us. I haven't received any alternative motions or amendments. Would someone like to move the officer recommendation? Councillor Lees, thank you. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Russell, thank you. Councillors, does anyone oppose? No. In that case, I declare the officer recommendation carried unanimously, which satisfies the requirement for an absolute majority. We now turn to item 5.2, which is entitled Policy P649, Mayoral Vehicle. I've declared a financial interest in this one, so I will now need to vacate my chair. If the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Andre Brender-Abrandis, could please take over as presiding member for the duration of this item, and if someone could come and get me once it's done, I'll see you all shortly.
Okay, we are at item 10.5.2, Policy P649, Mayoral Vehicle. Before we start with the substantive, we have an amendment to the substantive. We have two amendments to the substantive. The first being received from Councillor Russell. Councillor Russell, would you like to move your amendment? As the mover to the substantive.
Sorry, just a question, Mr Deputy Mayor. Are these two amendments sort of subsequential, as in they build on each other, or are they?
No, they're actually independent, I understand. I think Councillor Lees, yours is completely independent of Councillor Russell's amendment. Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, I can raise the amendment on the debate, if you like, rather than raise it as an amendment.
Sorry, can you say that again, please, Councillor Russell?
If it so pleases council, I can raise the amendment during the debate rather than raising it as an amendment by moving the substantive.
If you'd like to raise your amendment now, as opposed to, I'm quite happy for the amendment to proceed first.
Council adopts policy P649 mayoral vehicle as shown in attachment A, with the following amendment included as an additional point under statement. Private use does not extend to the mayoral vehicle being used for local, state or federal government electoral purposes, nor for the participation in political party events, for example, political party meetings, fundraising events.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. That is the amendment to the substantive. Is there a seconder for this amendment? No seconder for the amendment?
No seconder for the substantive.
So We will move to the second amendment with regard to, I'll be foreshadowing that if this should fail, then we would actually be adopting the officer's recommendation.
So you can't do this until we get a second.
Well, so we'll be moving on to the second amendment because the first amendment has failed. It didn't have a seconder. So we'll be asking the second amendment.
Sorry, Mr Deputy Mayor, just the way I understand it, given the amendments on the floor, but the amendment was a substantive amendment, would it not need to be progressed?
So the substantive motion is on the floor, and the amendment to the substantive has not passed. The second amendment is now to be heard with regard to the substantive. Yep. So, Councillor Lees, you've got an amendment with regard to item 10.5.2. If you'd actually like to read your amendment to the substantive motion, and then we'll see if there's a seconder. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So did you just want me to read the additional part?
Yes, thank you. Just your amendment.
So there's an additional part 2, which is requests the Chief Executive Officer to present policy P649 mayoral vehicle to an elected member briefing in December 2027 for further review.
Thank you, Councillor Lees. Do we have someone to second Councillor Lees' amendment?
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, that should be 2026.
To 2026. Thank you,
Yes,
Councillor Lees.
sorry.
We'll take that amendment. We have a seconder. Yes. Thank you very much. Councillor Lees, if you would like to actually read the reasons for your motion. Thank you.
So the amendment is pretty straightforward. It simply proposes that the policy P649 mayoral vehicle be further reviewed at an elected member briefing in December 2027. This timing ensures the review occurs with a full council following the September 2026 extraordinary election. I think I said December 2027 again, but I meant 26. And allows consideration in the most appropriate forum for discussion and feedback on the policy's ongoing suitability. So I would urge councillors to support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lees. Councillor David, you are the seconder for this amendment. Would you like to speak to the item?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Simply to say that this is a matter of quite some public interest, and it's most appropriate that all wards be fully represented next time we discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Did anyone want to speak against this amendment? Did anyone want to speak for this amendment? Were there any questions with regard to the amendment? No? If there are no further questions or no further speakers for or against the amendment, I'd like to put this item to the vote, please. All those in favour, could you please raise your hands? That was passed unanimously. Thank you. If someone could please kindly invite the Mayor back into the chamber.
This is being voted on, but have you voted on the substantive with that included?
Sorry. You're right. Thank you. Could the Mayor please be held back for a moment? We'll just be returning to the substantive. Yep, thank you. My apologies. Sorry, Councillor Russell. That was the amendment to the substantive.
So you voted on that with...
Okay, thank you. To clarify, that was an amendment to this substantive, which we've voted on, and so that actually concludes the item 10.5.2 as amended, amending the substantive. Thank you. That was passed unanimously again, and if the Mayor could please be invited back into the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. I think that takes us to item 11, which is applications for a leave of absence. Councillors, does anyone have a leave of absence application that they'd like to submit for, well, tonight? Councillor Russell.
Yes, I'd like to request a leave for the 1st through to the 25th of October inclusive.
So that's from the 1st of October to the 25th of October inclusive? All right, thank you. Anyone else? No. Okay, in that case, I'll move a motion that the leave of absence application received from Councillor Stephen Russell for the period of 1 October 2026 to 25 October 2026 inclusive be granted. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Brenda Brandis, thank you. Councillors, does anyone oppose? No. Okay, great. That's carried unanimously. All right, that moves us on to item 12, which is motions of which previous notice has been given. We have item 12.1, which is a notice of motion entitled Cessation of the Blessing, Prayers or Other Religious Impartations of the Australian Flag at City of South Perth Managed Citizenship Ceremonies. Councillor Russell, would you like to move that motion?
Yes, I would, thank you. So the motion is that Council requests the CEO to 1, cease the blessings, prayers or any other religious impartations of the Australian flag at all City of South Perth managed citizenship ceremonies, and 2, advise religious-based organisations that have previously performed blessings, prayers or other religious impartations of the Australian flag at citizenship ceremonies to be advised of this resolution and thank them for their service.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillors, would someone like to second that? Councillor Brenda Brandis, thank you. Councillor Russell, the floor is yours for your reasons.
Thank you. So blessings, prayers or other religious impartations of the Australian flag at Australian citizenship ceremonies, 1, has no legal or city policy basis for it to be mandatory. 2, does not fit the principle that citizenship ceremonies are government events intended to be inclusive of all people from all religions and of no religion. And 3, the flag represents and symbolises all Australians regardless of their belief or faith. Blessings or other religious impartations of the flag attaches a religious inference to it and therefore associating the nation with a particular faith performing the impartation. This contradicts what the Australian flag represents.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Brenda Brandis, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I support this motion. I think it's appropriate that our ceremony is actually inclusive. You know, we are a multi-denominational faith society, and so the blessing with one particular religious sect is not inclusive. So I think it needs to be appropriate that this should actually be considered as inclusive and not exclusive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brenda Brandis. Councillors, is there anyone who would like to speak against the motion? Councillor D'Souza.
Just questions, Mr Mayor.
By all means.
So we've received the post-agenda briefing comment, which is, I guess, is quite a large change since last week, and effectively it states that Home Affairs have advised that the current practice is in breach of the Citizenship Code. Is that the case? Clarifying that that's formally the case.
Ms Ampremo.
Yes, Councillor, through you, Mr Mayor, that is the case.
So regardless of this motion or not, the city will be ceasing this practice as an operational matter. Is that correct?
Ms Ampremo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor, that's correct.
In which case, is there a practical need for this motion if it's going to be, if the practice is going to be stopped anyway?
Ms Ampremo, should I send that to you?
The other part of the suggested resolution could potentially still be valid if council was to consider that.
For whatever it's worth, I did turn my mind to the same question and came to the conclusion that because paragraph 2 goes over and above what is required by the code, it is a valid motion. Any further questions, Councillor D'Souza?
No, that's all, Mr Mayor.
All right. Is there anyone who would like to speak against the motion? Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favour? I'll say a couple of words. The post-agenda briefing comment, as noted, says that the Department of Home Affairs Citizenship Program Management and Delivery Branch has indeed confirmed that Australian citizenship ceremonies must be apolitical and secular. So that's what we need to do. So I'll be supporting this motion. But I do understand that the musical performances by the New Era Baha'i Choir, they can continue, which I think is a good thing because those performances are rather lovely, and I think they're well received and appreciated by our entire community. But for this motion, I'll be supporting that. Would anyone else like to speak either for or against? No. Councillor Russell, no one's spoken against your motion, so no need to wind up. I'll simply put item 12.1 to the vote. By a show of hands, councillors, please, those in favour. And that was unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us to item 13, which is questions from members. Item 13.1 is responses to previous questions from members taken on notice, and responses to questions from members taken on notice at the June 2026 Ordinary Council meeting can be found in the appendix of this agenda. Item 13.2 is questions from members. Councillors, do we have any questions for the administration this evening? Councillor Russell.
Yes, thank you. Look, I note that a number of transformer stations for underground power have been installed on city-owned or managed land. So I have a number of queries in relation to this, which I think the city have heard me ask before. But A, as this infrastructure is owned by Western Power, what compensation, for example, a lease payment, does the city receive from the Western Power or any other state government agency? And if no compensation has been provided, could the city advise as to why not?
Ms Amprimo, should I send that to you?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor, for the question. So any infrastructure that's placed within the road reserve, utilities companies have a legal right to undertake that work, and there is no compensation because they have a legal right under the relevant legislation for each utility.
Does that extend to any reserve, not just particularly the road reserve?
Crown land, the road reserve, I believe. I would have to check if
we
that
have at least
to a public reserve.
Yeah, we have at least 2 transformer stations on public open space reserve.
If you could perhaps provide in writing the specific ones that you're referring to, and we'll get back to you on that one.
Okay, and B, as a number of these lands are deemed public open space under LPS 7, could the city advise how, under planning law, that these assets which do not contribute to the land use objective of public open space, being to provide a range of active and passive recreation uses, has come about?
Ms Shaw.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Public works are exempt from development approval under both the MRS and the local planning scheme.
Thank you, Ms Shaw and Ms Amprimo. Councillors, any further questions for the administration this evening? No. Okay. In that case, we move on to item 14, which is new business of an urgent nature, introduced by decision of the meeting. That's nil for this evening. We move on to item 15, which is meeting closed to the public, and we do have some agenda items here. So I'll move a motion at this stage that we close the meeting to the public so that we can deal with those items. Could I have a seconder, please? I think Councillor David was first. This is men with bad peripheral vision. I apologise. So Councillor David, that's me moving. Councillor David seconding. For those of you who were just departing the gallery now, thank you very much for your attendance this evening. To those who are listening via YouTube, we are going to have to go offline, at least for the duration of item 15. And you're probably not missing much because after item 15, we get to item 16 closure. But thank you for joining us online. All right, so we're back online, we're broadcasting. We've come out of closed session on item 15, and for the purposes of the tape, items 15.1.1 to 15.1.6 inclusive have been deferred to the August Ordinary Council meeting. That takes us to item 16, which is closure. I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance and participation this evening. I declare the meeting closed at 7:33 p.m. Thank you all and good night.